Hello, one and all. Welcome to another episode of MMA Vision Analysis. This one, I'm here to talk about UFC Fight Night in the Middle East. Specifically, the fight that's going to put together UFC legend Tony Ferguson versus Michael Chiesa. But before getting started, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click that notification to get all of this that is new from this channel. Your channel, the one and only MMA Vision Analysis. Tony Ferguson now and Tony Ferguson 7 years ago, it almost seems as if it's two different people. I'm not sure what happened between now and then that, made Tony Ferguson look the way that he's been looking in his recent fights. Whether it be personal, whether it be due to injury or I don't know, but I know that the results are not in Tony Ferguson's favor. Tony has not had a good performance. It's very difficult. I would have to think hard to remember the last good Tony Ferguson performance. It's been a good 5 years. I'm not sure what the UFC and Tony Ferguson are holding on to at this point. I'm not quite sure what the goal is ultimately for Tony Ferguson. Like I said, from the UFC and from Tony Ferguson's side. Also, I would like to add, I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer over here. I'm just pointing out the obvious. Perhaps the thing that is very difficult to ignore at this point. We have this guy who's, I can't even, I've lost count at this point. 5-6 losses in a row for Tony Ferguson. I really don't know. It's a handful. Back-to-back losses. His last outing was not the worst performance, I must be fair. Like I said, I like to stay optimistic. I like to encourage fighters to just, let's say, athletes in general. I like to see athletes in the latter stage of their career still giving top performances, whether it be late 30s, early 40s, even some sports, just sports in general. The likes of Tom Brady, we have a guy named Cristiano Ronaldo, late 30s, still performing at the highest level. And in the world of mixed martial arts, obviously Glover Teixeira captures a title in the late 30s, and so on. There are great examples of fighters or athletes maintaining form or reaching peak like Glover Teixeira in late 30s, early 40s. So that has to be said. But in the fighting game, it's very different from other sports. I do understand that other sports, there are risks of injuries as well. But in sport like mixed martial arts, the risk is much higher. The odds of getting hurt are much higher. And obviously, those could be devastating and life-changing. Knockouts and even people say, "Oh, I'd rather be submitted," because it's all bad for your health, whether it be submitted or knocked out. Obviously, you want to be submitted over being knocked out, either or. Broken bones, you name it. There's a lot that comes with entering that octagon, good and bad. But that's why we have to give ultimate respect for these guys for making the decision to enter the octagon or a boxing ring or any other fighting format, because these guys are literally putting everything on the line. Everything that they know, and your well-being is everything that you know, because without your well-being, what is a life? So at the end of the day, there's nothing but respect, but at the same time, we have to know when to step in and stop the fight, just like a ref steps in and stops the fight when he sees that the fighter is taking too much punishment, right? great example. You name any fight that was stopped by a ref. We have to kind of play that. The UFC has to kind of play that. And I think tonight, or it's going to be more like daytime on this side of the planet anyways, the fight night, August 3rd, that's going to be, I believe it's Abu Dhabi. I want to say Abu Dhabi. I really think win, lose, or draw, it's going to determine Tony Ferguson's career heading to the future, because if the UFC decides to put him back in there again, I think win, lose, or draw, there's going to be some serious decisions and serious conversations to be had in regards to Tony Ferguson's career moving forward. I know I didn't talk about Michael Chiesa much in this video. Here I'm really here to talk about Tony Ferguson, Il Kukui. You know, we don't want people to forget what this guy represented 5, 6, 7 years ago, because people are starting to forget. A new wave of MMA fans, they're only gonna see what they see, and you can only recall what you see. You're only gonna remember the guy for his last performance. I wish Tony Ferguson the best against Michael Chiesa, and I wish obviously Michael Chiesa the best. I wish both these guys well, but I believe that it's more suitable for Tony to get a win. I don't care how. I just want Tony to go in there, not take punishment, somehow get a win. With all respect to Michael Chiesa here, but a win for Tony Ferguson is a win for the sport. It's a win for the UFC. It's a win for the fans. Nobody wants to see Tony take punishment at the end of the day, to be honest. I talked about guys being stepping stones, and Tony Ferguson was mentioned in that statement, and unfortunately, that's exactly what Tony Ferguson is. For a guy like, let's say, Paddy Pimblett, Tony Ferguson is a name where you can get a win over and climb up the ranking. And I think enough is enough. I wish Tony the best the night of UFC Abu Dhabi. I want to say it's UFC Abu Dhabi. It's in the Middle East for certain. August 3rd against Michael Chiesa. I wish Tony Ferguson the best once again. Michael Chiesa as well, but I want to see Tony get the W. And really think hard about just kind of letting it go at this point. I think it's a wise idea. It's a wise idea for Tony Ferguson and the UFC to part ways, I believe, after the night of UFC Abu Dhabi, August 3rd. And I wish Tony Ferguson the best. I really, really hope. I usually don't say I hope this guy wins or that guy wins, but I hope that Tony Ferguson wins, because a win for Tony Ferguson is a win for the sport, and it's a win for us, the fans. If you made it this far, I appreciate you for sticking around. Please let me know what you think in the comments, and like, subscribe for more.